New England Music has become Maine's #1 leader in stereo sales and service. Fair pricing, product knowledge, and honest value. Now New England Music offers you the best of another recognized leader.
So this McIntosh 2105 just came in. Obviously it's a little bit rough. Glass is not in great shape. Apparently there's no output. This is one that I bought, found a good deal on, so we'll be selling this after we hopefully fix it. I have a suspicion that it's the good old speaker switch, because it's got a lot of slop, not in the best shape, and it looks very filthy in here, so let's get a better view and we'll check it out. Okay, first thing is to get the bottom off. So I see a mismatched screw there, that's fun. Missing one over here, so you know, it's had a rough life. Alright, so it looks pretty original. Let's see. Got some bulging on the relief cap on this filter cap. Those are always getting changed anyway. And the original power supply components, original can cap, a little bulging, some bulging on these, on the input board, and our lovely speaker selector switch here. You can see there's a, well, I can see there's a rivet that's loose and the whole thing seems to be coming apart. Alright, so we got to take this screw and this screw out to get the cage off the top, and we'll take a look at that. Oh boy, okay. So it's a little dusty, a little bit. Looks like a tomb in here. Doesn't look like it's ever been messed with or anything, so we want to get these driver boards out and take a look at them. I can tell already that these are the later revisions, because they've got these different driver transistors in. these thermalloy heat sinks. These were put in toward the end of the run of these things. We'll definitely want to check out some of the tolerances here. Looks like that one's been replaced. That's the bias resistor, so that's a good sign. These guys are together, which is something they did later as well. So this is a later version, 2105, like toward the end of the run, like I said. So that one's got a bias resistor as well. Maybe it's not changed. Maybe they're using these metal film resistors instead of the carbon comps at this point. I'm not sure. I haven't done too many of these later ones. But yeah, that's all a good sign, because all these ones are more reliable and attainable than the other ones. So there's a problem with these, will be all right. Don't have to go too crazy yet, just enough so it's, you know, less disgusting. Oh, jeez. All right, well, that's pretty nasty. All right, yeah, I didn't need lungs anyway. Well, it doesn't look like anyone ever spilled anything in there, so I guess that's better than a lot of these I see. Never mind all that propellant refrigerant coming out of that. Won't do any harm, hopefully. Hasn't so far. There's actually somebody on eBay that makes these boards. You can buy them populated or not. I don't find that super necessary unless you're sort of going crazy with a restoration. These are usually in pretty good shape. Sometimes these blow up, and these ones, and they might blow a hole in the board, and then could be unrepairable, I guess, and you want to change the board. But for the most part, I guess if you had some where you just couldn't find the right parts, because I think the eBay versions are all modern parts, so that would be helpful. Most of these can be changed, especially on these later ones with modern stuff, but sometimes it can be a pain. So we're definitely going to change these caps and test these resistors just to make sure they're, you know, reasonably within range. All right, still got all our felt light blockers. That's good. They're like weirdly hard as a rock, but at least we have them. All right, let me take the screws off the sides here, and the front should come off. Chunks of glass that get stuck in the carpet on my bench. Now, I have not plugged this in yet. I've just done so many of these. The fuse isn't blown, so I think the outputs are probably fine. I think all the lamps are out. That's what the seller said. But this glass is definitely getting out of here. And this speaker selector switch is notorious. That's just nasty. So we're gonna have to take that off and see if we can fix it. And if we can't fix it, we'll bypass it. We're also gonna take this little blue plexiglass off. It's really easy to break, so we don't want that. I've got some more of this material that I could cut and replace it with, but I'd rather not. Alright, so meter bulbs, which are probably out, and the meter board, which we'll replace the caps on and adjust at the end. Also, everything's real nasty in here. Alright, this is the switch. So we're going to take a picture of that so we can hook it back up after we take it out, if I can fix it. I'll actually mark one of these because they're the same color wires of those output transformers, so we want to make sure we don't switch left and right. Somebody's tightened that down, thinking the looseness was in the mount. Alright, I don't know if we can see that. See this little rivet here that doesn't have a lug on it. If you switch, it's sort of moving around quite a bit. So, see if I can get this open without completely destroying it, and we'll see what it looks like on the inside. Alright, so you bend these two little tabs straight, and then it should come apart. Okay, so lots of oxidation, and I don't see anything completely broken. Well, that didn't go well. So switch is bypassed for now. If some miracle happens and I can find that part, that'll be good. But basically what I've done is left it all hooked up as it was. Just, you know, the next person, or if I'm going to be in here, replacing it. And I just put a little jumper from the output to the input on each channel. So it's just always on, basically. And if you want to turn it off and use headphones, just turn the amp off rather than turn the speakers off. Okay, so here's some things we don't like. We don't like random mismatched transistors. We don't like those at all. That's this guy over here. Is what it's supposed to be. Not a rando RCA. Over here, we do like this. So they replaced the transistors here, but they are the correct 15003s. These are Motorola ones. I'm going to change the ones on the other side to MJ, because MJ makes all these Motorola ones now. So these are older replacements when Motorola was still making these. Everything else under here seems pretty untouched. There's this weird extra fuse here I haven't seen before, but that looks like it's factory, so, you know, weird, but it works. Anyway, I'm going to get on pulling the filter caps out. So you want to be able to put these stacks of crap back together that they use to space them out. So it goes fiber, like vanity washer thing, and then a regular washer that's just, you know, off-the-shelf hardware stuff. They found to space these out. They could have made something, I guess, but why do that? So yeah, just, you know, note the stack order, because you want to do it in the same order. Okay, so that's interesting. All right, there's a little hole in that one. Let's test these out. Big ones take a little bit. Come on. Oh, there we go. It's a capacitor. 1.6% voltage loss. 43.37. And it's supposed to be 39. So 39. That's just 43,000 microfarads, and this is supposed to be 39,000, so it's not that bad. It is a it's an old cap, so it's probably plus or minus 4,000%. .39.9.53 ESR, so it's not too bad. Probably could have left these in, but why? All right, so next we'll do the input board here. You can also buy these new and populated from some guy. Again, not generally necessary unless you just really want to have everything be brand new. I'm not super concerned about that. Most of this stuff is fine. This board doesn't get a lot of stress or heat, so most of these carbon comps should be pretty in spec. These caps don't look great though. You want to be careful about bending this board up because these can break very easily, and if you find you've done everything and put it back together and it's not working, definitely check on these because they're really easy to break without noticing. What's this? Alright, so that's a what is that? That is a bracket for the pan lock, which is just floating under there, and it's metal, so that's, you know, not great. All right, so yeah, I'm just gonna do this one, and then when we come back, it will all be done. Hard to do behind a camera. All right, so we'll take this guy out, and just for fun, we'll test it. .518 microfarad, 1% voltage loss. It wants to be 470, so yeah, it's a little out of spec. So good thing we're doing it. Oh, and if you don't know, definitely note orientation. And I like this little tool, which is ridiculously expensive for what it's made of, but it's very handy for bending leads. So what you do is sort of stick one in the one hole and the other end in that one, tighten it up. Then when you put this guy in, try to get it reasonably centered. I like to have values facing up. You just bend it over. And perfect bends. So we'll do the rest of them and we'll solder them all in, and this board will be good to go. All right, there's the input board done. So next we'll do the power supply. Okay, the first thing we want to do is get this can cap out. So it's a twist lock cap. So disconnect all these wires. What you want to do first is write down where all the wires connect, and on the bottom of one of these caps there's little symbols, and that just makes it easier to get the new one hooked back up. Fortunately, the new one has the same symbols for the same values, so we'll just do it like for like. Alright, that's out. So the trick with these, if you can't straighten these, it's far easier just to grab onto the tabs and just sort of bend them around until they come off completely, especially if you have no plans to reuse it. I don't know if it's visible on the camera here, but these things, as the capacitors swell, the weakest points where those numbers are stamped in, so that tends to be where they start to bulge out. Definitely doing it on this one, so it's a good thing we're changing this out because it might start leaking out of the bottom pretty soon. Alright, this one's kind of in there. So true to the name, with the twist lock, you just sort of twist the tabs to lock it in. Then it's dirty. We've got to hook the wires back up and solder on this case ground, because that's, you know, how McIntosh does it. Alright, so this little area is kind of a pain because, you know, these standoffs, you gotta get the stuff out and then sort of clean them up enough to put the new stuff in. So I find the best thing to do is clip the stuff out, use some needle nose, and try to get the ends of their legs out of here. Also using, you know, solder sucker to get as much off as possible. So it's just sort of tedious to get these all cleaned up enough to put the new stuff in. Also good to take a picture of this, just to, you know where everything's going. It's pretty easy, but you don't want to get mixed up. So yeah, clip the stuff out, and then it's just a matter of, you know, trying to get as much solder off as you can, and then trying to get these little extra legs out. Alright, so now it's moving around. So is that wire. You want to make sure that wire doesn't disappear, or you don't forget to hook it back up. And yeah, there's probably a better tool for this. Go. Alright, so that's everything, you know, reasonably well cleaned up, enough to put the new stuff in. So we'll get that stuff in, and then we'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so that's everything loosely in there. At this point you want to double check to make sure that your diodes are going the right way and that you've done the right values. Double check your values. These are obviously smaller than the old carbon comps, but they're the metal oxide ones will hold on to their values longer. Well, that's it, all done. Alright, these are the thermistors. We also want to change these. These stop everything from getting spiked at turn on. Pretty easy to do, same as the other side. We just clip them off and then try to clean these lugs up as much as possible and get these get them cleaned up. Alright, that's those done. So that's pretty much this whole area here. Before we move over to the filter caps, we want to flip it over, clean up in there. So we need to get everything cleaned up. We also need to get these output transistors out of here because we're changing those ones out. It's just mismatched ones in here. And we're going to put in other 15003s so that matches this side. And yeah, we'll go over everything, make sure it's okay. Alright, so first I'm just gonna spray it with some isopropyl alcohol. I like doing this first, or you can use Windex, I guess, but anything that will evaporate quickly is good. This is mostly just because alcohol evaporates very quickly. It's pretty mild solvent, and I basically want to get all this dust and stuff wet so I can wipe it off. But yeah, the most important thing about it is how quickly it evaporates. So you won't have any sort of secret moisture in there, and if you go to turn it back on tomorrow. It's pretty common on McIntosh to get rust on these edges, because they actually chrome this metal before they bend it. So when they bend it, it breaks all the chrome, so these edges aren't actually chromed. So there's nothing really to protect it from getting rusty, and it does. Alright, well that's the general idea. I'll do more of this boring detail stuff off camera, and we'll come back when it's time to pull these transistors out. Okay, so these inside ones can be a pain. The outside ones are pretty easy because you can get the screwdriver on them. These ones we have to use a stubby one most of the time. Let's see if I have something. Alright, found a ancient screwdriver somewhere. That one seems to do the trick. This may be the first screwdriver. Alright, so it's basically just doing this a bunch of times. Get those bottoms ones out, you have to do it from the bottom. You might be asking why I don't just disconnect this, but it's, believe it or not, easier to do this than it is to disconnect and rewire these things. So this is what we're doing. Alright, so I've got the filter caps in and the output transistors swapped. So these are what the old Motorola ones look like, the 15003s. This is what the new ON semiconductors look like, or ON, I don't know. So I've got to change out the drains, so this guy and this guy, these guys, and then address this convenience plug here, which is very broken and very dangerous. Luckily this store is old as dirt, so I probably have some of these new that I can deal with these rivets or something. I don't know, but we'll see. Alright, while I'm in the middle of this, here's the thing to watch out for in Macs, old ones especially. These, they like to do like rivets and mechanical connections for grounds instead of soldering to the chassis and things like that. These can get loose and cause problems. They did it again here. It's, you know, not the best. Let's see, yeah, there's another one here on this lug. These ones, the 2105 doesn't really have a lot of problems with that, but a lot of their preamps do. Things like the old integrated amps, the 6100 and the 5100 have problems with these mechanical grounds. So it's, you know, something to look out for if you get a lot of noise or cutting out. You want to make sure that all these are solid. These ones are pretty solid. I actually took this one apart and cleaned and tightened that one. But yeah, you always want to look out for that in Macs, because you know. Oh, and also the output transistors. Normally I would say you want to keep track of which ones are NPNs and which ones are PNPs, but in these old Macs, let's say the design was simplified, and they're all NPNs, so you don't have to worry about that. They're all the same transistors. Alright, so I did manage to find a whole drawer of these things. So we got that guy all fixed up, so now it's, you know, safe. So one last thing to do would be the driver cards for the amps. So I'll get set up and get those out. Okay, so these are the driver boards. As you can see, it's the later version, like I probably said before. So we want to change these caps at the least. We're going to test this resistor and this resistor, which are the same one. That's the bias resistor, should be 100 ohms. And we'll test these guys because they get quite hot, and we want to make sure they're still 3.6K. All right, 102. Come on. 101. I get about almost 1 ohm in my leads. So yeah, those are fine. Let's see here. 3.7-ish. Hold on. 3.6. That's probably just the oxidation on there. And these are also 5% resistors. 3.5. Yeah, so those are fine. So we'll just change out these caps, and these boards should be good to go. We'll also give them a little bit of a clean. Now this is the Hacko FR301, which is absolutely a necessity if you're going to do more than one project in your entire life. It's so much better than wick or using one of those little mechanical sucker things. Let's see, that one's not much measuring there, it just has to get bent. Weirdly, it's the bigger of the two. All right, all cleaned up and ready to go back in their homes. It's a good idea to spray a little bit of deoxit in these slots before you send them home, which I have done. And you want to make sure you're not too rough. This little standoff does sort of get on those emitter resistors a bit, so you want to make sure to avoid destroying any of that stuff. Come on. There we go. All right, those are in. Get a couple little screws. Lock those down. You still have the meter board to do, and the glass, and the lamps, so we won't test it till the end. But yeah, if something else comes up, we'll deal with it then. This is the meter board. This is the main difference between this and the MC-2105. Every other part is shared really, but this little add-on bit here is what the 2105 does that the 2100 doesn't, which gives you the glass front and the meters. This can be kind of a pain because there are little spacers under these screws that are kind of hard to get back in without taking this whole thing off. Hopefully I don't have to do that, but I might. Usually there's enough wire slack here to get this thing out of here without having to take the whole front off. Yep. And right here's the... Oh, this is a later one. It looks like these spacers are sort of brazed onto this bit, which is nice. I haven't seen that before. I've never worked on one that's this late in the production before, so that's nice. Always keeping it updated. So we're going to change out the electrolytics here, and these little tropical fish guys, which like to just disintegrate. Then hopefully I don't have to do any adjustment to the meter sensitivity, because that process sucks. There we go. Hopefully that music in the background doesn't get me a copyright strike. I really love these captive standoffs that the older ones don't have. Alright, so that board is good. I want to get these light diffusers out, get those cleaned up, because they're pretty nasty. And these old Macs are pretty dim, unlike the new ones, which are pretty, you know, gaudy neon things. The old ones are just, you know, just enough to see. But they could use all the help they get as far as lighting goes. So we'll take those out, get them cleaned up. Alright, so these are all cleaned up. Get these back in. Oops. It's nice and clean. These are all except one are out, so I gotta change those. Probably should have done it with the diffusers off, you know, to not be stupid, but here we go. Looks like they're falling off a little bit here. You can just sort of, they're just clipped on, so you can sort of just push the whole holder out of the thing. These are 1888s, which are different than the 1866s that the faceplate uses for illumination. Slight brightness difference in these. So you want to make sure not just change them all for the same things. Alright, so 50 years of corrosion sometimes means that the bulbs don't come out whole. But that's okay. We get them out, and sockets are clean, so we'll replace them. Got this little box of replacements here. So let's see which ones are the 1888s. It's 66s. These are the 88s, I think. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna get those in there. There we go. All right, and I also like to spread these out a little bit more than they were originally, just to even out the light. Two right next to each other doesn't seem the best. Now these are going to be a little bit different light wise to the originals. You got to be careful what bulbs you put in here. So on these ones, I don't know if you can see, so the filament's about halfway down in these. And you can see that just the tops of them are poking out here. And on the new ones, the filament's a bit higher. So you want to make sure, you know, your filament is, you get better light the higher your filament is on any of these. So the modern ones will make it a little bit brighter than the old ones, which is nice because sort of modern tastes lean more toward that. Alright, so this thing is rough. So I put some cardboard down just so I don't get glass shards in my bench carpet. So the first thing you do on these is just flathead screw in each corner of these trim pieces that we got to get out. A lot of the time these are quite difficult. I don't like this one, which is chock full of junk. All right. And quite rusted, so that's gonna be fun. I think I broke it free here. Nope, I didn't. All right, off to a great start. Now what you definitely don't want to do is lose these screws, because there's sort of some modern versions of these you can buy. You can see them on eBay or whatever. Not quite right. And yeah, they're just, I don't know, it's the thread or something, but it's you really want to save these. Let's see if we can get this one out. Without slicing my hand off. Oh man, okay. It's moving. I felt something stab my hand. I'm not gonna look until I'm done doing this. Well, it got me. Yeah. All right, we got that squared away, and everything's looking good and solid. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and install it. All right, before we put the faceplate on, we have to change these bulbs, which are kind of a pain. Sometimes you can just, yeah, get them out like this. You want to be careful not to push too hard, because the holders will just pop off because they're just sort of pressure fit in there. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. That one's loose, but yeah, okay, we're good. These ones. All right, so we're gonna turn it on. Everything is all squared away. I've got my copyright-free music going. So this is the first power on. All right, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but the lights all look good. I've got the gains all the way down, so let's go up with those. All right, everything's good. So let's button it back up, and we can sell it. Might do a little bit more on the cage on the top and show you that, but yeah, we're pretty much good. All done and looking good. We'll do a little more cleanup on the top, but yeah, it's good to go.